People see Canada in pictures and think of wide, clean streets, calm cities, beautiful nature, and friendly people. But there's a part of Canada almost no one talks about in travel videos or online posts: the actual cost of living. It doesn't hit you all at once. It creeps in slowly, layer by layer. You start with basic expenses and realize they aren't normal expensive. They're quietly overwhelming. Not chaotic, not dramatic, but steadily heavy. And that's what shocks Americans the most. They expect Canada to cost a little more, maybe in groceries or rent, but they never expect the entire structure of life to be more expensive. Every bill, every receipt, every monthly cost stacks on top of the last. And suddenly, the country that looks peaceful from the outside becomes one of the most financially demanding places they've ever lived, forcing them to rethink their budget, their lifestyle, and even their spending habits. Canada doesn't warn you with big signs or loud surprises. It reveals the cost of living slowly, quietly, and with the kind of consistency that catches people off guard. For many people, the real cost of Canada hits the moment they start searching for a place to live. It's not just Toronto and Vancouver, though those cities are in a league of their own. It's almost everywhere. Rent doesn't match what the buildings look like. A small, older apartment with outdated appliances can cost more than a luxury unit in many U.S. states. Even studio apartments in mid-sized Canadian cities feel shockingly high, and that's before you add the extras: hydro bills, heating costs, parking fees, and deposits. What Americans find surprising is that Canadians don't even flinch at these prices. They're used to it. They budget around it. They share homes longer. They rent for years because buying a home feels almost impossible for many. And the deeper Americans look, the more they realize this isn't a temporary market spike. This is the Canadian cost of existence. Rent becomes the single largest monthly expense, swallowing half a paycheck or more, and Americans suddenly understand why so many Canadians talk about housing with a tone that mixes exhaustion with acceptance. Grocery shopping in Canada feels normal until you reach the checkout. Prices rise quietly, item by item, until the total hits a number that makes newcomers pause. It's not one specific item, it's everything. Milk, cheese, chicken, fruit, vegetables, snacks, even basic bread, all noticeably more expensive than what Americans are used to. And the shock gets worse in winter, when produce that has to be shipped long distances costs even more. People walk out of the store carrying 2 small bags for the same price they'd get a week's worth of groceries back home. Coupons don't save much. Sales barely bring items down to U.S. normal prices. Even eating healthy becomes a financial challenge. Americans begin comparing costs, switching brands, and stretching meals without even realizing they've changed their entire shopping behavior. What makes groceries in Canada the true budget killer is the steadiness. The prices rarely drop significantly. They stay high, constantly high, quietly high. And for many newcomers, that becomes one of the most difficult adjustments to make. Grocery shopping in Canada feels normal until you reach the checkout. Prices rise quietly, item by item, until the total hits a number that makes newcomers pause. It's not one specific item, it's everything. Milk, cheese, chicken, fruit, vegetables, snacks, even basic bread, all noticeably more expensive than what Americans are used to. And the shock gets worse in winter, when produce that has to be shipped long distances costs even more. People walk out of the store carrying 2 small bags for the same price they'd get a week's worth of groceries back home. Coupons don't save much. Sales barely bring items down to U.S. normal prices. Even eating healthy becomes a financial challenge. Americans begin comparing costs, switching brands, and stretching meals without even realizing they've changed their entire shopping behavior. What makes groceries in Canada the true budget killer is the steadiness. The prices rarely drop significantly. They stay high, constantly high, quietly high. And for many newcomers, that becomes one of the most difficult adjustments to make. Transportation in Canada looks simple from the outside, but once you live here, you realize it's one of the most quietly expensive parts of daily life. Owning a car isn't just about fuel. It's about insurance rates that shock Americans the first time they see the quote. Even drivers with a clean history find themselves paying amounts that feel closer to monthly rent than car insurance. Then there's gas, which fluctuates dramatically depending on the province, the season, and even the day. Winter adds its own layer of cost. Winter tires, block heaters, engine maintenance, and salt damage repair. Even parking in cities can feel like a luxury. Public transit helps, but it's not always cheap either. Monthly passes in large cities quickly add up, and some regions still lack efficient systems, pushing people back toward car ownership whether they want to or not. Americans soon discover that transportation in Canada isn't just a bill, it's a series of ongoing financial decisions that follow you everywhere you go. Winter in Canada isn't just weather, it's an annual financial responsibility. People outside the country see snow and imagine cozy scenes and pretty landscapes. But Canadians know the real story. Winter is expensive. Heating bills spike for months at a time. Households spend money on insulated boots, thermal layers, proper coats, gloves, and scarves that can survive freezing winds. Homes need space heaters, weatherproofing, and stronger insulation. Cars need winter tires, emergency kits, and constant maintenance because the cold damages everything. Batteries die, engines freeze, roads crack. Even daily routines cost more time and energy. Clearing snow, warming up the car, waiting longer for transit, and dealing with winter weather delays. For Americans used to mild winters or short cold seasons, Canada's winter is a financial shock. It's not one big expense. It's dozens of small but constant costs that add up without warning. And Canadians handle it quietly year after year because winter isn't an event here. It's a lifestyle. After experiencing all these costs, rent, groceries, taxes, transportation, and winter, it would be easy to assume Canadians are overwhelmed. But what surprises Americans most is that despite how expensive life here can be, Canadians still choose to stay. And they do it with a kind of quiet confidence. They value the stability, the safety, the predictable systems, the access to healthcare, the clean streets, the respectful communities. They value the calm, the space, the nature, and the sense of trust built into everyday life. Americans eventually see that while Canada is financially demanding, it offers something rare, a lifestyle that feels healthier, safer, and more balanced. The cost is high, yes, but the trade-off is real. It's the kind of place where people feel protected, supported, and connected to the world around them. And for many, that emotional and social stability is worth more than the money they spend. That's the part that truly shocks Americans. Not the price of Canada, but the value Canadians believe they're getting in return. When people talk about Canada, they often focus on the beauty, the safety, the friendliness, and the quality of life. But the reality is more complicated. Living here comes with a financial weight that builds slowly, steadily, and quietly. Rent squeezes your budget. Groceries empty your wallet faster than expected. Taxes take a bigger bite out of every paycheck. Transportation and winter each add their own hidden expenses. And for many newcomers, especially Americans, the cost of living feels like a constant shock. But here's the part that makes Canada different. Despite the high expenses, people stay because the life they get in return feels worth something deeper. It's the calmness of the streets, the stability of the system, the access to healthcare, the safety of the neighborhoods, the connection to nature, and the sense of quiet respect built into everyday interactions. Canada isn't perfect, and it's certainly not cheap, but it offers a kind of balance and peace of mind that money alone can't measure. And that's why so many people choose to build their lives here, even when the cost feels heavy. In our next global encounter, we're breaking down the hidden financial realities newcomers face in their first year living in Canada. The adjustments, the surprises, and the truth about what it really takes to settle here. If you want to see that breakdown, make sure to subscribe because there's a lot more to this story than people think.